Well, we've all heard about state capture. I think that term must be the most used term in political and social economic commentary in recent times. State capture. What it really means is really the direct and undue influence by business over government. That's the usual term. It's a matter of buying influence, but that's not unique. It happens all over the world, but usually in a much more low-key way than I suppose we are used to. It doesn't make headlines. The difference in South Africa is that it seems to be much more blatant, even crude, where you have one family, for example, reported by ministers, senior people in the government, in the ANC government, that this Gupta family offered them ministerial positions, not the president. Now, this business of so-called state capture, the alleged state capture by a family in South Africa, is still ongoing. But the labor movement, which is concerned about it, as they rightly should really be concentrating at this stage, I think, in a looming union capture that is likely to come to a head in Durban next month. And this is when 4 COSATU-affiliated unions host the World Congress of the World Federation of Trade Unions, WFTU. Now, there's a major contradiction here because, you see, COSATU happens to be, to which they're affiliated, these 4 unions, which is the Mine Workers Union, the National Health Education Allied Workers Union, the HAWU, POP Crew, and the Pulp and Paper Union, SIPAWU. All are affiliated to COSATU, which in its turn is affiliated to the International Trade Union Confederation, which regards the WFTU as not a legitimate labor organization. The reason for that is very simple, that the WFTU has its roots in the old Communist Party grouping around the Soviet Union, and it includes in its, therefore, in its membership, unions from countries like Syria, Vietnam, and, yes, North Korea. Now, North Korea, I think, provides us with a more grotesque parody of socialism than even did any of the countries in the former Soviet bloc. But the reason that it's actually been revived to the extent that it has is one of the results of the global economic crisis and the widespread disillusionment this has caused right around the world. I mean, people are now becoming more and more disgruntled with established political parties and their policies, and the politicians for that matter. It's given rise in the United States, for example, to Donald Trump, also to Bernie Sanders, the self-professed socialist, to Jeremy Corbyn in Britain, to Podemos in Spain, Syriza in Greece, and even to a limited degree here, the economic freedom fighters. They're all looking for alternatives. And while this has revived the almost moribund WFTU, it's also given a boost to traditional communist parties around the world. But local unions in South Africa, would I think be much better to look back to more recent history, to their own origins in independent, democratic and worker-controlled unions, really independent unions, which were political but still independent, and not be looking or be wooed by the WFTU and their conveyor belt unions of statist, party politically aligned unions. I think that's what should happen. And anyhow, that'll be the focus of my Inside Labour column, which you can access on this platform, Fin24, tomorrow, and a version of which will appear in the business section of City Press on Sunday. Until then, once again, over to you. Let's have your comments, let's have your criticisms, suggestions, even your compliments if you wish, to editor@fin24.com. That's editor@fin24.com. And for this week, that's all from me. Cheers.